Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're really digging into a question that gets right to the heart of, well, human purpose and meaning. Why should we follow his footsteps and become like Jesus Christ?
That's a huge question.
It really is. And we've sourced a truly comprehensive biblical analysis for this, pulling insights from, across the Old and New Testaments.
A lot of material there.
Definitely. Our mission here is basically to give you a shortcut to understanding this fundamental life choice. We want to distill the most important nuggets of wisdom so you can feel genuinely well-informed.
Yeah, cut through some of the complexity.
Exactly. And believe me, this isn't just some abstract theological discussion. It touches on our everyday lives, our purpose, our relationships, our morality, even what comes next.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, in the material we're exploring is how it presents following Jesus not just as an option, one among many,
Right.
but as the fundamental way humanity was actually designed to live and thrive. It suggests this isn't just about belief, maybe, but about discovering ultimate reality and our place in it.
So it's deeper than just a lifestyle choice.
Much deeper. The analysis, it rests on some foundational ideas, like that there's a God who reveals himself in these ancient writings,
Yep.
that humans were made in God's image but are now, somewhat broken or fallen, that Jesus is both fully divine and fully human, and he offers a way to sort of mend that brokenness.
Right, redemption.
Exactly. And that God's big picture goal is restoration, bringing us back to how we were meant to be. And you see it historically, right? Countless people have found in Jesus a living guide, a perfect example, and someone they could absolutely trust.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The analysis makes it remarkably clear that this call, this idea of living a life aligned with God, which really culminates in following Jesus, it has deep roots.
Oh, absolutely. Way back.
Stretching all the way back into the Old Testament. I mean, think about that foundational principle from Leviticus. Be holy because I am holy.
A core statement.
Now, we often hear holy, and we think of, rituals or something just maybe unapproachable.
Yeah, it can sound that way.
But what does the source really mean by holy in this context?
Yeah.
Beyond just, ceremonies.
That's a really great question. Because the original Hebrew word, kadosh, it means set apart or consecrated.
Set apart, okay.
Yeah. So it's not just about ritual cleanliness, though that was part of their practice. It's fundamentally about God's people being distinct, different, specifically by embodying his moral character.
So it's about character.
Exactly. We see it in qualities like justice, mercy, faithfulness, love. These are God's attributes. So being holy isn't about being untouchable. It's about actively reflecting God's character in your daily life. It sets this powerful precedent for what we later see fully in Christlikeness.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective.
Okay.
And the Old Testament also talks about walking with God. We find examples like Enoch in Genesis, who walked with God, then he was no more because God took him away.
Right, that mysterious phrase.
And Noah, also in Genesis, described as a righteous man, and he walked with God. What does this idea of walking with God truly imply for someone today, seeking that deeper connection?
Well, it implies something much more than just, say, showing up for religious services occasionally. Walking with God suggests an ongoing, intimate, daily relationship, a kind of consistent alignment of your will, your purpose, with God's intention.
Like a partnership almost.
Very much like that. When we see Noah described as righteous and walking with God, it suggests his moral character wasn't just about following rules. It was a natural outflow of that close, continuous relationship. It's about a shared journey, day by day.
Okay, so it's relational at its core.
Deeply relational.
Now, here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. The Old Testament doesn't just give us principles. It gives us vivid examples. Real people who actively followed God's ways and were, genuinely transformed by it.
Yeah, the stories are key.
Think of Abraham, famously called the friend of God, his willingness to leave everything, his homeland, and later, that almost unthinkable test with Isaac. It showed incredible faith, obedience.
Unwavering trust, really.
Right. Then there's Moses, described as incredibly humble, which is amazing given his role, and he had such an intimate relationship with God. The text says it was like a man speaking with his friend, face to face.
Imagine that kind of closeness.
And of course, David, often called a man after God's own heart. His prayers, the Psalms, they show such raw honesty, deep worship, even admitting his huge flaws.
Yeah, he wasn't perfect, but he was real with God.
Exactly. And his mercy towards enemies like King Saul, who was actively trying to kill him, That's also really significant, isn't it?
Absolutely. What these stories powerfully illustrate, you see, is that following God isn't just about sticking to a rule book. It fundamentally leads to character transformation.
Like Moses' humility you mentioned, or David's repentance after his failures.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And it absolutely requires both deep trust in God's promises, like Abraham, and a radical willingness to obey, even when it's incredibly difficult or confusing.
Hmm.
The Old Testament, through these lives, essentially gives us a living blueprint of God's character, what he's like.
Okay.
Compassionate, gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, forgiving, but also perfectly just. That balance is always there. It's a template for what true human flourishing looks like according to the source.
Okay.
So when we get to the New Testament and meet Jesus, we see him as the ultimate culmination, the fulfillment of this whole divine plan for how humanity was truly designed to live.
Right. So if the Old Testament sets this incredible stage, laying the groundwork,
Yeah, the foundation.
the New Testament brings in Jesus as the ultimate fulfillment, the star of the show, if you will. He's presented not just as a profound teacher, though. He was that,
Since he was.
but is the perfect embodiment of God's character. The Gospel of John says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us."
Such a profound statement.
And Hebrews describes Jesus as the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being. That phrase, exact representation. What's the deepest implication of that for us, for someone trying to live a meaningful life today?
Well, the Greek word used there, character, it's really potent. It implies like an impression made by a seal or a stamp.
Ah, like a perfect copy.
Exactly. Perfect, precise reproduction, not just, someone's interpretation of God. So for us, this means following Jesus isn't merely about trying to be a better person or imitating a good moral example.
It's more than self-improvement.
Much more. It means we're invited to participate in the very life and character of God himself. It elevates the whole goal beyond just moral tweaking to something divinely transformative. It's the path, the analysis suggests, to becoming fully what we were created to be.
And Jesus exemplified this perfect obedience to the Father, didn't he? Always doing what pleased him, even in that incredibly agonizing moment in Gethsemane, facing unimaginable suffering. He prayed, "Yet not as I will, but as you will." But then the text in Hebrews says, he learned obedience from what he suffered. That sounds most contradictory for someone divine. How do we get our heads around that?
It's such a crucial point, and it actually makes him incredibly relatable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
His obedience wasn't like robotic or automatic. It was developed, forged through real human experience, through immense testing and suffering. It shows us that even for him, aligning with the Father's will involved a deep process, especially through hardship.
So it wasn't easy even for him.
Doesn't seem like it. And his example gives us hope, right? It demonstrates that obedience, that kind of alignment, is possible even in our toughest moments, and that it ultimately leads to something profoundly good.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, this concept of humility and servanthood that Jesus embodies, it's truly revolutionary, especially when you think about how most societies, then and now, view leadership and power.
Oh, completely countercultural.
Philippians says Jesus, being in very nature God, didn't cling to that equality, but essentially made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant.
Emptied himself is another way it's put.
Right. We see it so clearly when he washes his disciples' feet, a job for the lowest servant. And then he tells them point blank, "I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you."
Direct instruction.
How does the source material grapple with that tension? This ideal of humble service versus the real-world pressures of leadership and getting things done.
It fundamentally challenges our usual assumptions about power. The source really highlights this profound paradox. The one with ultimate divine authority chooses the lowest status to serve humanity.
It turns power upside down.
Completely. And it's not about weakness. It's presented as a radical kind of strength found in self-giving love. It redefines what true greatness and effective leadership actually look like. The analysis suggests influence should flow from humble service, not from dominance or control. It really asks us to rethink what being in charge means.
Wow, okay. And then there's his perfect love. Love in action. Jesus himself said, "Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends."
The ultimate sacrifice.
But the analysis highlights this incredibly inclusive kind of love. It wasn't just for his inner circle. It extended, often surprisingly, to those pushed to the margins, right?
Absolutely. And this is where his love looks so different from, well, typical human love. It was profoundly countercultural for his time.
Can you give some examples the source points to?
Sure, we see him deliberately engaging with tax collectors, people seen as traitors and collaborators. He interacts respectfully with Samaritans, who were deep ethnic and religious rivals.
Breaking barriers.
Big time. He treated women with dignity and respect when they often had very little social standing. He welcomed children when the disciples tried to shoo them away.
Yeah, I remember that story.
And maybe most astonishingly, his love for his enemies. While being crucified, his prayer, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing."
Incredible.
It really is. This kind of love just shatters social barriers. It transcends our natural human inclination to exclude or retaliate or hold grudges. It's presented as a raw, powerful revelation of God's own nature. An active, seeking, unconditional love that offers hope and dignity to literally everyone.
Regardless of their background or what they've done.
Precisely.
Okay, and what about Jesus' moral perfection? The Bible states he was without sin. Why is that specific detail so crucial to the whole picture presented in this analysis? It seems almost unrelatable.
It might seem unrelatable at first glance, but his sinlessness isn't just like an impressive moral achievement. It's absolutely foundational to the whole argument.
Foundational how?
Because he lived that perfect life, completely untainted by the brokenness or moral failings that affect all of us. It means he's uniquely qualified, not just as the ideal model for us to follow, but also as the Savior who can actually do something about our condition, who can redeem humanity.
So it connects to his role as Savior.
Directly. His perfection means he can bridge the gap between our imperfection and God's perfect standard. It's something no other religious founder or historical figure could claim in the same way. It's what makes the offer of transformation through him truly possible, according to the source.
Okay, I see the connection now. So if we take all this and this incredibly rich picture of Jesus from both the Old and New Testaments, the precedents, the fulfillment, what does it all mean for you, the listener?
Our deep dive highlights, I think, a really compelling case for why following Jesus is considered so significant.
Yeah, it brings us to the so what question, doesn't it?
Exactly. What the analysis reveals is what it calls a profound convergence of divine purpose and human need.
Convergence. Okay, explain that.
It means that God's original intention for human beings, how we were meant to live, how we were meant to flourish, perfectly aligns with our deepest, most fundamental human longing.
Our longings for.
Think about it. That innate search we all have for meaning, for belonging, for purpose, for real fulfillment, for forgiveness. Following Jesus, according to this material, is about restoring humanity to its intended purpose. It's about resolving that inner restlessness, that dissatisfaction we often feel. It's presented as the path to becoming what we were always meant to be.
And the analysis talks about a comprehensive nature of the transformation that happens. It's not just one aspect of life.
No, it's holistic. It touches every part of who you are. It's intellectual, a renewing of your mind, changing how you think and see the world.
Okay.
It's emotional, as divine love, God's love and compassion start to shape your feelings and reactions. It's moral, as you begin to align with divine righteousness, living with more integrity. It's relational, learning to love others in the way Christ loved, that self-giving way. And it's profoundly spiritual, fostering that intimate, ongoing fellowship with God we talked about earlier.
So it addresses the whole person.
Exactly. The totality of human need and potential. It aims to integrate everything.
And what are the practical benefits? Things people might experience, today in the here and now. The analysis lists things like, peace, joy, purpose.
Right. And clear moral guidance, wisdom for life decisions, a deep sense of belonging in a community, real hope even when suffering hits.
Which it does.
Which it inevitably does, and ultimately a profound sense of eternal security.
So these aren't just abstract theological ideas.
Not at all. They tie directly into Jesus' promise of abundant life. And the source stresses this isn't just about living a long time, it's about a quality of life. A richer, deeper existence characterized by knowing you're loved by God, having His peace, experiencing a joy that isn't just dependent on good circumstances.
A joy that can sustain you.
Precisely. It flows from that real, living relationship with God through Jesus.
And it seems clear that despite this message having historical roots in ancient texts, its relevance feels universal. Because those fundamental human needs you mentioned, meaning, forgiveness, hope, they're the same everywhere, aren't they?
They really are, across cultures, across time. And the analysis also underscores what it calls the reasonable nature of responding to this call.
Reasonable. How so?
Well, When you consider Jesus's unparalleled moral excellence, the profound wisdom in his teachings that still resonates today, the historical testimony of his transformative power on countless lives over centuries, it all builds, the source argues, a compelling body of evidence for the biblical claims.
So it's not just blind faith.
Not according to this analysis, it suggests there's a solid foundation. It offers a path that addresses humanity's deepest needs and highest aspirations in a comprehensive way, standing as a complete answer where purely human philosophies or efforts might fall short. And importantly, the material emphasizes that this call to follow Jesus isn't just an idea to ponder indefinitely. It's presented as having a certain urgency, inviting a present response that has implications not just for this life, but for eternity.
Wow. Okay. What a deep dive this has been into some really profound questions in ancient, powerful texts. The analysis we've explored certainly makes a compelling case.
It really lays out a comprehensive view.
It does. And maybe the final thought for you, listening, is this. Whether one ultimately chooses to follow Jesus or not, this biblical exploration presents a fundamental choice about how we approach our existence.
A crossroads, in a sense.
Yeah. Do we try to navigate life relying solely on our own human wisdom and strength? Or do we embrace the divine wisdom and power that the analysis suggests Jesus uniquely offers? It's a question that, for countless people, provides incredible hope, clear guidance, and a path to transformation that speaks directly to humanity's deepest needs and our highest aspirations. We really hope this has given you food for thought, and we genuinely encourage you to reflect on this evidence for yourselves.
And ultimately, the source frames this whole thing as an invitation. It's not meant to be a burden.
An invitation, right?
It's presented as an invitation leading to the ultimate fulfillment of human potential, exactly as it was divinely designed from the beginning. The biblical case for following Jesus, as laid out here, really does deserve careful consideration because of its sheer scope, its internal consistency, its profound relevance to our shared human experience, and yes, its ultimate eternal significance. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us. We really hope you feel better informed, maybe a bit inspired. Until next time.